All right, guys, I got a new mic. We got a new video out for you guys. This gentleman is Sean McCartney. Sean plays guitar on YouTube, and you guys should definitely check that out. I mean, obviously, given the guitar in the background, I'm pretty heavily in guitar myself, but I think it's a really good episode because we really kind of touch on the way that we approach talking to others that we disagree with, that we talk about, parenting and how these issues really affect us as dads and our kids. And I think it is a excellent interview. And I'm hoping that you guys will really enjoy it. Your brother and I met through doing a lot of anti-war stuff, and he told me you have a very interesting story over the last few years, and it would be insanely relevant to what my real focus is, because the focus of this podcast that I created was how politics and social issues affect parenting and the raising of kids and life for kids and kids welfare from
Yeah.
basically a kid supremacist standpoint, putting kids above everything else.
Totally.
And I obviously got interested in a lot of these wars because, I think it's pretty obvious how that affects kids and how, that should be worried about. And I was like, I don't want this to be a whole war podcast.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
so I split off, and me and Shael did the Grand Reckoning. So
Nice.
that's kind of, this is more, I'm trying to bring it a little bit more domestic, less foreign.
Yeah. I think that's great. Like the whole point is, to me, the news is like, what's going on in the world. My world's always been really, really small. So like my stepbrother, like they call me Simple Sean, like Simple Jack from the movie Tropic Thunder. Like I typically never overthink, like I don't overthink things too much, and I keep my circle pretty small. And so to me, the bigger question was always like, how is that, whether it's Israel and Gaza, like, Israel and Palestine, or, Venezuela and like, the drug trafficking or the border thing, like, how does that actually like bleed into me getting up in the morning, putting my kids on the school bus, going down to the grocery store and grabbing a coffee, talking to people at the register? Like, how do those things actually, so I like affect my life? So I actually really like the perspective you come at that with, because it allows you to drill down to the more important parts as it pertains to dads or, families, where we're at, that kind of a thing. So that seems much better than just arguing broadly over whether or not that's a genocide or that's legal or this is that,
Well,
or,
this is the thing. We have to realize that people don't always join for the cause for the same reason. This is something, it's like a running quote from me in this podcast, is that nothing in politics ever happens for one reason.
right,
It's just,
right.
there's got to be numerous motivating factors to get anybody, enough people on the same page for anything to happen. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. The thing I've tried to say is, like, if me and you were to have a conversation, like, just to throw it to something extreme, if me and you were to have a conversation today about slavery, we would never come out of the morality argument, right? Because it's the obvious argument,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
but the thing about it is if you're in 1700, you could make that morality till you're blue in the face, and it might not be the thing that converts another person to abolitionism. And I think, people get so caught up in a lot of these things, and they think, hey, maybe that's not the best, that it's almost like, and to use that example, I can actually pull economics texts and prove to you that slavery was actually an economic downfall everywhere that it's ever been done. It actually causes a lot less productive, it's actually really bad economics. But if I'm going to go on like if me and you were having a chat about slavery and why it's bad, and I'm like, well, let me tell you, it's just really not an efficient way to pick cotton.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like everybody looks at
Yeah.
me weird. But I think that we have to be open to making those arguments too, for people who aren't that world minded. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've said is like, how does these things affect other people? I mean, well, we have billions of dollars going to these places while we're doing not too great. We
Yep.
have people drowning in North Carolina as Black Hawk helicopters fly over them going to go back up Israel. Like that's how it benefit, I know
Yeah.
it sounds selfish because there's kids burning, but like also like even if you want to be selfish, this is not good for us.
Here,
So it's like,
I have a cap
you know,
or to add on to that what you're saying right there. Sorry to cut you off.
no, you're
It
good.
just
Go.
made me think of it. I was at a buddy's birthday party, and I told him on October 12th or something like that. I called him, and I was like, "How are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm okay." And I was like, "You're the most interesting man in probably the world right now." And he's like, "Why is that?" I said, "Because you're half Muslim and you're half white and you're married to a Jew. Like what's going on in your head?" And that was my thought process. I'm just going to call the guy with the broadest spectrum of view. Like he can see all like 360 degrees of this issue and get his take on it. And, I won't divulge the conversation or anything, but essentially, like, I was just visiting with him recently, and his brother was like, "Well, we just need to be America first. Like, it's the best way." And obviously, that's beneficial to his family, who's still they still have family over in Palestine or in the Middle East. Like, obviously, that's beneficial there. But that is also something that somebody like me, who has no dog in the fight whatsoever, can completely agree with, because even though he's saying that in part to benefit his family circle, it's also to benefit his family that's here, that's America, that's, half Muslim and half white and got, Jewish relatives. And like, they're just like, this isn't good for anyone. So just to piggyback on your point there, like,
Well, yeah, and
that
then
is
and
the
then the
prevailing
optimistic point,
perspective.
if you don't like the people you're rubbing elbows with, just know that big tents are destined to fall apart.
Right.
This is something that I've pointed out. I mean, like, look at MAGA right now. Like,
Yep.
big tents are destined to fall apart.
I was just
It's conflicting
That's funny.
viewpoints. It's just
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yep.
So you're not gonna be together for long. Just get together for a couple of things, do those things, and
Yep.
then you go your separate ways.
100%.
Or best case scenario, you work on this and then work with the other group on that, and that's best case scenario. But that's not that's not how human beings work, unfortunately.
At least
We're
not right
very
now.
tribal.
Yeah, and the algorithm is making it worse. I was watching a thing a little bit ago, maybe last year sometime, where it showed it looked like a DNA scan, and it was like the Democratic Party, their viewpoint, it showed the spectrum of views for each voter base, and the Democratic spectrum of views was like that, and the Republican voter base spectrum of views looked like a brain. Like it was all spread out. Like, they
And this used to be
disagree
something
here.
the Democrats had a stranglehold on.
Right.
And
I
Trump
was a
himself is
Democrat.
the one that
Yeah.
broke that. And
He
that's
did.
something that I've tried to point out, because it's like he pulled the working class from the immigration and green side
Yeah.
of it. And that's basically what he did. He ripped that big chunk off of the big tent party that was the Democrats, that held that stranglehold on American culture and
Yeah.
politics for such a long time. And that's what actually broke that free. But that's kind of my point is they're destined to fail because they have conflicting interests. You can't have an open border and universal health care. You
Right.
also can't have
Right.
open
Right.
border and please the union guys.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
just like there's certain things that he was intentionally playing pieces of the Democratic base against each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were really understanding that. And that's why as Trump blew up, they couldn't figure out what was going on. But I saw it the whole time. I was like, all he's doing is splitting off. And that's two birds, one stone. He's divided the Democrats and made his tent bigger.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, political strategies aside, the bottom line is this, like, I don't know how old you are. I'm 41. So I graduated high school in 2003. And in my opinion, the peak of societal relations, like getting along. Like, we all agreed that we didn't like the Iraq war, but we also all agreed that at least for a short period of time that we needed to go. Like there was waves of agreement, societally speaking. And I grew up in where Brad's from. Like, I grew up in this town. I grew up in an all white, basically, community. And by every single metric of stereotype, I should have grown up and been like the redneckest, racist dude you've ever met in your life. But that did not happen to me or anyone that I knew. We actually grew up not giving any craps about what somebody looked like, who was in their bedroom, any of that stuff. We just went out in the world and we found our people. Like, we left town for a while. We found our people that looked different for everybody, but we found the people that we like loved outside of our families.
I'd say the late 90s and the early 2000s were probably the best example of post-racialism.
100%.
Now, I would say that we definitely had a sexual harassment issue, given the whole, like, Girls Gone Wild and ripping, what's her face, Janet Jackson's dress.
There was gratuity.
There was a lot for what they were doing with women, and we can have that discussion. But I would say that, like, that's probably the closest our society has ever seen to Martin Luther King's dream, in my opinion. Like,
and that's what we grew up on. We grew up on that. My teachers pumped that into me. I have a friend. I have a black buddy who lives on the west side. Well, I grew up in
South Carolina, so I actually would have the opposite of what you're saying. I don't know how much you know about the demographics of South Carolina, but it is literally one of the blackest states in the country.
Sure.
I was one of like 7 of the white kids in my graduating class. I was 2010. But, like, we all listened to the same music.
Yep.
And it wasn't just one type of music. It wasn't like we were all just listening to hip hop. It was hip hop. It was rock. It was rap. It was everything. Everybody listened to everything. Everybody watched the same YouTube videos and the same
MTV.
Like, we had a very the same shows. We were all talking about the same stuff. So, like, I don't know. There was like a weird universal culture of, like, you might have had something that was per se targeted towards, like African Americans, like say That's So Raven, but all the white kids watched it too.
100%.
Like, literally every white kid watched it.
I grew up on Family Matters. Like, I mean, I watched the
that's what I'm saying.
Jeffersons.
Like, we all watched that. Everyone watched it. It might have been supposed to be but everyone watched it.
Almost all my favorite figureheads were black people. Like, I grew up in
I've pointed
American
this out.
culture.
I think Moana,
was black culture.
Or not Moana, Encanto. Have you seen the movie Encanto?
Yep.
I think it recaptured that. That's kind of the point that I've made so many times to a lot of these. It's like, you don't just recast a character as something else. It's just like, that character is just present.
Yep.
Like, that is what makes it not irritating and nails on a chalkboard.
Yes.
Right? Like, it just, that's the story. We wrote the story, and that's the story. It's not, we didn't pigeonhole this random, like, Latino in here to
ramming
make a point.
Something. Yes, exactly. You know what? One we really love, because, guitar players, right? We really like that Coco movie, the movie Coco, and it's the same thing. That's an original story. That's beautiful, with great music, great characters. It celebrates a heritage that I think that we all respect for the most part. Like, I mean, Americans typically, like, I grew up with no hatred towards anybody else's, like, way of life necessarily.
We've always had, like I said, at least my generation, and maybe you'll agree or disagree, I would say we've always been taught to have intrigue.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like,
curious.
Wait, what are you doing over there? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
Like, what's up with that dance? Do it again. I want to see.
And that doesn't
can I do it? Like, how do I do it? You know what I mean? Like, that's us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what we were taught. Like, the whole time was join in, try to be a part of it. That's how you're inclusive.
Yes. You include yourself. You don't necessarily need to include, like, you include yourself into the things that you find interesting. Right. Not we force inclusion upon, not we import 20 million people or something, like, because like immigration is, it's not the hugest deal to me, but given the state of the economy and how it affects that, I think it's a bad thing. I also feel like, even let's say we're bringing in the best people of that other country. Well, what are you leaving for that other country? It's just a barren wasteland full of like narco agents or something like that. Like, what are we doing to them if we're saying that we're just taking fathers and abuelas and stuff like that? Like, it's not genuine. So like, you can't have a country that even is accepting or wants to be a melting pot if you're overflowing the pot with whatever. It's
Yeah, and that's kind of
know
why I say the best, like me and Dave DeCamp were talking about this on the Grand Reckoning, where it's just like, if you look at like the quote unquote problematic, what we would say is the problematic immigrants, it's like 90% of these people that we're talking about didn't come to America because they saw what America was doing and they wanted to be part of America.
Right.
They're running from something. A lot of times because their home country is literally on fire. A
Yep.
lot of times because of American foreign policy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's just like if you, I don't know, we sit here and we pervert the system in such a way, and then we wonder why everything goes to shit. Like,
Yeah.
if the original like game was everybody who wants to come here and be a part of what we're doing,
Of
come
what
here.
we're doing.
And that's what I'm saying.
And
that,
if you
that's
bring
fine.
something
I
to
don't
the
think
table,
anyone has a problem with that.
Right.
Like, I would even say, like, this is the thing about like Ellis Island that no one wants to sit here and talk about it. I'm a libertarian, so I don't lefty or righty. I think they're both stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like, so for me, it's just like you're kind of missing both two halves of a whole here.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Ellis Island, it was sink or swim. Like, when you got here, if you failed, you went home.
Right.
You know
You
what I
had to
mean?
go
Like,
home.
it was like
Yep.
nobody was here to help you. You were shit out of luck. It was sink or swim.
Yep.
And then it was like, then the people who were determined, or lucky or fortuitous, or they had a lot of familial backing and things like that. People worked together, yes, but what I'm saying is it was all on a voluntary basis.
Yeah.
So you had a different situation. So it's like, if that's what you want to do, I am not opposed to a completely open immigration system. But we're going to have to cut a lot of this safety net for these type of folks and say, hey, if you want to come and you can make it, then you can make it. But if you're going to come and sit on a system, you can't do that. The vast majority of immigrants don't come here to sit on the system. But there are a couple that do. And that's what we're trying to figure out, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I think that's
like,
right.
We can barely afford the people that we have.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's
like, I think there's a middle ground here where it's just like, okay, well, which of these things do you want more? Do you want a bigger net for people, or do you want a more open system? Because those things don't work together. Like, even Bernie Sanders will tell you that you can't have open immigration and free healthcare. Even Bernie Sanders will tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a huge Bernie bro back in the day. It's funny. So, just speaking of like taking care of, that's kind of the thing I latched onto that you were saying, taking care of the people that we have. To get into like sort of my story here, like, I was born in Portland, raised in this little town, Palouse, that I grew up in, that I love, that we're in now. I moved back to Portland for a job. I'm still doing that job. I'm grateful for that job. But when I got to Portland, I was like 27. And it was fine for a 27-year-old with no wife and no kids. And then the homeless population just exploded. And it's like, we're talking about taking care of people that were raking in from the southern or northern border. And we can't even keep like veterans of our military, like, taken care in housing, or like, we can't keep these people that are on these streets like in housing. And I said this was going to happen. Like, there was another short stint I did in Portland for like 3 years in my even earlier 20s, and 10,000 people it was 50,000 people a year for like a decade moved to Portland without a plan, without a job. I saw it. I was part of it. Like I moved there. I had no job when I got there. I didn't set anything up for myself. Now, luckily, my dad lived there and my stepmom, so I lived with them for a little while, got on my feet. I had two jobs in 2008. So the whole unemployment thing was just people wanting to be lazy, like blaming the economy, like, oh, or like you lose your job, so you don't need to go work at McDonald's now. Like I worked at Circuit City and I worked a crappy construction job for like a while. I had two jobs and like I had nothing. So I developed a plan when I got there, but what I wasn't going to accept was living on the street ever. Like that wasn't going to be. Now, some people don't have the safety net that I had. I can be compassionate to everybody's personal situation, but I just watched this homeless population explode. And we were even out of the metropolitan area and they were still sleeping on the islands in front of, Target or Ross or whatever. Like they were still around, like you still couldn't walk down the street without getting panhandled, like all that stuff. So it just became a place, like when the children were born, it became completely untenable. And then something else happened that really there are three things, right? It's the homeless population and the way things economically seem to be going, the housing market, plays into the economics of that. We couldn't afford anything and we couldn't live in apartments anymore. And we're rare. We're a single income household. So I work and now I work from home and the wife and I are both home. She's upstairs right now with the baby. And so we couldn't afford the housing. And then we got a hold of in 2021, late 2021, we got a hold of the Portland public school system curriculum for kindergartners. And oh boy, can I tell you, that sent shivers down my spine. My oldest was getting ready to go to school. And this is all coming off of a vote for Biden, by the way. I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. And I said, I'm not in a cult. If it doesn't go well, I'm going to say it doesn't go well, and I'm going to change my stance. But what I did was I voted for Biden, and I deleted Apple News, and I said, I'm done with mainstream media. And then my views began to shift wildly. And I just anyway, so we came up here for a visit my mom, my stepdad, and my wife fell in love with the place. And so we left, and the school system here is great. I believe in our teachers. I know most of them on a personal level. The superintendent was my sixth grade basketball coach. So there's this very familial vibe to our public school here, and I really love it. And I believe that these teachers want to do the right thing for our kids, and they've displayed that over the years. So it was a good move all around, and we got a house we could afford. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. And it really shifted I remember talking to Brad, and he was like, you're going to vote for Trump? And I was like, Bobby Kennedy told me to. I wanted to vote for Bobby. I love him. I could see that they demonized him. I could watch it happen. He was just like they did to Elon for a while there. Now, Elon, back and forth, sometimes good, sometimes bad, just like most people. Same with Bobby, sometimes good, sometimes bad, mostly good, though. And he was like, if you want me to get in there and make some changes, you need to do this. And I was like, all right, man, I'm going to trust you. I don't know why I should, but I'm gonna. I trusted him more than most politicians. So yeah.
The only issue I really ever had with Bobby Kennedy was the Israel stance that he had.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I agree.
that was the only thing. Everything else to me was I was like, all right, I mean,
oh, you want to take poison out of food? I like that.
Right.
I'm with that.
And that's kind of why, I would say honestly, out of everybody that Trump has, he's probably the only one that's actually doing what he said he was going to do if you gave him the position.
Agreed.
Everybody else seems to just be screwing off.
Those are the things. It's okay, so this is actually worth my vote then. For the first time in my life where my vote, the purpose of my vote is being served, right? The purpose of my vote was not like Trump's stance on this, or because I like JD Vance, or I like the whole cabinet, or I care about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's that infighting you were talking about now, or like any of that stuff. I didn't care about any of that. I literally, my single issue, going back to the original point, is my children. And the best thing I could do for my children is to figure out what intoxicants like are causing the autism epidemic. I will call it that, though some people want to say it's just because we know more. And it's like, no, it's because we're hiding the things that we knew before. That's coming out in full force right now. Like, and, you know, both of my boys are like fully vaxxed. Both of them have some level of ADHD for sure. I thought it was from me. Turns out it could be from all the aluminum and formaldehyde they've ingested into their bloodstream over the years. And like, I want to know that stuff because we're having like, we haven't an, you know, a 2-year-old. If they're saying wait on MMR till they're 3, I want to know that, you know, like that's what I care about. So it is like you said, what'd you say? Like making the, what was the term you used to like put the kids first?
Oh, yeah, like kid supremacy, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's child supremacy here. Like that's what I care about them. Like that's it. I like literally have given up. Like the only thing I still do is play guitar and I play basketball on Wednesday morning. I don't have, my dreams are for them now. Like that's what it is. Like I don't have like grandiose like retirement dreams. I don't even care if I ever retire. Like if I have to work forever so that they
Yeah.
can have it better than I did, I'll work till I'm 80. Like I don't care at all. And so I don't think about those things. I don't think about myself really, not to the degree that I used to. And so when I thought about like where I would place my vote this year, children being the supreme issue, it was clear. It wasn't even a question. Like I don't remember hearing Kamala talk about children at all, not to the degree that Bobby was, you know. And he was like hellbent. He's like, we're going to bring back like physical standards. Kids need activity. We're not schooling like male children properly. Like they're not getting enough playtime, you know, wrestle with your kids, like get them in martial arts, like all this stuff. And all of those things are proving in my life anecdotally to be true. Like you've got to do these things for these boys, and then they will literally flourish. And that's all I care about. That's it. And I only care about mine too, to be honest. Like small circle, simple Sean. Like I
would
really
argue that, like, no, I would say that for me at least, like having kids radicalized me towards generally kids in general. Like I just, I do see kids in general as supreme. Now, don't get me wrong, I have my favoritism towards my own.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean like screw everybody else's kids. Like I mean my main priority is
I
mine,
would sacrifice
yeah.
you for your kids without your permission.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do like, you know, my wife and I coach little league around here. I'm doing a basketball program with, you know, kindergartners and first graders right now. And I literally, like, I love them. Like they make me happy to be around, and they're so funny. Each one, like their own personalities, you know, and they're all children of my friends growing up, most of them, you know, so, or of like current, like dad buddies that I've made just because our kids are in the same classes and stuff like that. And so I do have like a vested interest in the children of this community. And that has sort of made me better with kids in general. But I wouldn't even be around kids if it weren't for my kids. So I have them to thank. And the one thing I've been saying to people that I think I even said this to my sister the other day. It's like the only people I'm beholden to right now are the ones that live under my roof. They're the only, I don't have an obligation to my mother, my father, really. I have a sort of a biblical obligation to honor them. But
Right.
that can mean anything. That can mean just like living a pretty good, wholesome life and doing your best all the time. That's a really great way to honor your parents. But like, you know, I don't have an obligation to like align with my parents politically or anything. I just have an obligation to give them respect and show them dignity by honoring the last name that I carry. And then every other obligation I have are to the four people that live under my roof right now. And so how does all that like sort of funnel down into like politics and stuff like that? It's pretty simple to me. It's like I'm going to find whatever side houses the person that is hell bent on making the future better for children. And that's where I'm going to place my vote. And then, anybody hell bent on making it safer for Jews or safer for Somalians or safer for Afghani refugees, I don't care about that. I want it safer for my children, and whatever that means, I'm pretty much on board with, short of like genocide. Like I'm not down with that, like short of just like killing a whole bunch of people for no reason. I'm gonna be on the side of whoever is like,
well, this is
actively making the future
thing
better.
that I've said too is like, for me, whenever you're looking at an expert, and this is something that I say about like any kind of expert, is there is a difference between educated and indoctrinated. And the best way to really tell is the indoctrinated are identical to low IQ people. And I really mean this. Like, they literally believe anything they see on the TV. They literally, like, that guy is there for sure. That guy is important. He's on the TV. He's got his glasses on and his PhD, so he knows what he's saying, and he's right. A real expert, if you notice, is like, man, we think we know this, and I'm not really sure. And if you look at this study, what it seems is like they are just as ignorant as you are, and they're excited to try to figure it out. Like, we're figuring it out together. Yeah, that's an expert.
Right.
Experts are unsure. That's the old Dunning-Kruger thing.
Isn't that the Joe Rogan thing? Like, that guy is kind of an expert. Like, I know he's always like, I'm just a guy, but like the fact that he's humble, it's that like humbleness that like really.
I think what's great about Joe Rogan is that he isn't an expert. Like, this is something that I've said so many times to everybody is like, he'll have some really smart guy come in to try to explain something, and he's going to ask the question that every other person in the world is going to ask. He's going to ask the quote unquote dumb question.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is sometimes that's not a dumb question. And sometimes that's a question that the guy can't fucking answer. Yeah. And that is what's crazy about this is it's questions they would never get asked on CNN.
Exactly.
Because the guy doesn't want to feel like he's dumb when he asks the question. But Joe Rogan doesn't care.
Well, credit
and
to
so
Joe.
He's just going to ask it.
Yeah, it'd be like, what the fuck do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
You said like eight syllable word. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. So explain it. And that is his genius, because I actually don't think that that's unplanned. I feel like he knows like that he's going to ask, like it's planned out. He's like, and then when who was that guy he just had on, the OpenAI guy, or the supercomputer?
I don't think I've seen that one yet.
He's
I haven't watched a episode.
Oh, it's
few episodes.
It's really good.
I haven't watched in a few episodes.
But he's kind of like, what do you? The guy drills down into something really technical, and he's like, what do you mean by that? And then the guys, like, because they're comfortable, because they feel like they're talking to somebody who doesn't understand, they put it in like a 4th grade format. And now the rest of us can get it. And, I'm just a freaking dad in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm nobody. But I will say, like, deleting.
Yeah, but we're over here listening to Sean Carroll explain how fucking quantum physics works.
Dude. Or, talking to guys that like visit the Amazon, or like, and find like, anacondas that you can't wrap your arms around, like really cool stuff too. That's the other genius of his podcast, is that he will talk to anybody. He invited Kamala. He's like, I'll talk to her. He brought Bernie on, and he had to put his feet to the fire, and it went really poorly for Bernie, like in certain spots, obviously. Bernie's still really good to me on a lot of stuff, but he's sort of been co-opted by a certain subset of people that have a vested interest in turning our country the way they want it to turn. So that kind of sucks, because I really liked him I think I voted for him when he ran. Who did he run against? Not Bush. Was it Bush in the second term? Or no, or was it Obama?
Yeah, he ran. I want to say he ran during Obama,
The first
and
term or the second?
yeah, I'm not sure
Both.
whether it was the first or the second or both. It's probably both.
I think I voted
He
for
was a
Bernie
pretty
term
heavy.
2.
He was a pretty heavy runner for a while there.
Right.
But I would argue that like during that time, and maybe I was a little bit more idealistic at that time.
Yep. We all
But
were. When you're
but I
younger,
would
you're
say
supposed to be.
I would say that generally for me, Bernie was somebody that I didn't agree with, but I respected. And like I said, because I was pretty hardcore libertarian at the time even. And like so I was like, I don't agree with what he's saying, but I at least respect the fact that I think he believes in it. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes.
So because it's
yes.
like I'm sitting here watching all these other people lie to me about what they say they believe, but I think
Yep.
he actually wants what he's saying he's gonna do.
It's the same thing, the same way I felt about Bobby. Like literally get same vibes. Like that's why. And you know, if Bernie
And
would
I'd
have
agree.
said,
That's real. I wouldn't say I agreed with everything but Israel, but generally vibes wise, like I believed he. And that's another thing about Israel, and that's why, like I said, that one stands out to me. Is I
Mhm.
don't get the vibe that he agrees with what he's saying when he says it.
Yeah, that is the one issue that he doesn't stand on with 10 toes down. It seems like he has someone or something to appease in holding that opinion. But also, that's just the way it seems. I don't know the man. I'd love to like meet him someday. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember I was like, he's the first politician in my children's lifetime where I was like, that's a good man. And it's funny because it's so counter to what any of my Democratic family members believe. And that's why you delete Apple News and don't watch CNN, because you're only going to get the snippet of it that may, and it's been proved now with that BBC thing. We all knew it the whole time anyway about the 2016 election, you know, loss speech that Trump gave, you know, and it's just like, okay, so you guys have been lying. I remember in 2020, Summer of Love, my cousin, he's a firefighter, and he's like, are you saying Antifa's not real? And I was like, yeah, it's like an ideal. And I believe that. And then now I actually messaged him the other day and had to apologize to him. I was like, hey, remember? I was like, my bad. I was wrong. And that's another thing that I really am trying to like politically, at the very least, my wife will tell you I'm not good at apologizing, but I am trying to like hold myself accountable for real mistakes. You know, like I voted for Biden. My bad. Like that did not go well. That went really poorly. Yeah. But I also was like brainwashed into just hating this guy because of the way he spoke. Like I hated Trump. And we came off of Obama, and I really liked the way Obama presented himself as an American, presentation wise. Policy wise, he was kind of a fucking nightmare if you take the whole thing into, you know what I mean? Like policy wise, kind of a
More
fucking
than you
nightmare.
think.
More, I mean, I think exactly like he was a fucking nightmare. But like, you know, Trump's the exact opposite. He's the polar opposite of, no, maybe not exact opposite, because some of his policies still do suck. But like broadly speaking, he's the polar opposite of Obama. And that's why we got him, because the policies didn't match the rhetoric and that of Obama. And now the policies don't match the rhetoric of Trump. But the funny thing is, when I stopped watching the news and I started watching full-length interviews and press conferences and things like that, my opinion of him shifted, and now I just find him fucking hilarious. Like, he's really funny. Like, his comedic timing is insane. And, like, that's how I take him in as, like, a viewer of his speeches and stuff like that. I'm not sitting there going, that's right! You know, like, that's not my vibe. Like, that's not who I am. I am like, he'll say something and I'll laugh my ass off. I'll be like, I can't believe he just said that on TV. You know, like, I can't believe he just called that person a retard or like whatever. Like, that's hilarious. Like, that's locker room talk from when I was in high school. Like, that was how my friends and I roasted each other. You know, it's just not serious. What's serious is it actually is a good thing to stop drug smuggling coming from Venezuela. That actually is a good thing. Like, how you present that to the media, that has nothing to do with me. That is a good policy. Like, it's actually a good thing to be America first for Americans. Like, maybe not for the world, it's not a good thing. You know, for people coming in to game the system, that's not a good thing. But for us, it's a good thing. And, you know, I don't agree with anything, like everything any politician's ever said. I'm more libertarian in that essence, but I will vote non-libertarian if I find it to be the most beneficial thing, I guess.
So let me challenge you on the Venezuela thing, and let me tell you why I would say that is misguided in more ways than one.
Sure.
So you have North America. I don't have my camera seeing me. But you have North America, then you have the little Central America, and then you have South America down here. And right there at the top of South America is Venezuela. So we have like that much ocean and a nice strip of island between us. Those speedboats are not making it to America. They're not.
Right.
They're going to Trinidad and Tobago in a lot of cases, and they are going on these shipping freighters to go into Europe and East Asia. They have nothing to do with America. The fentanyl that's coming into America is coming through Mexico, and the precursors are coming from China. So it has nothing to do with Venezuela at all. The Venezuela thing is a project for Marco Rubio because he's upset about Maduro. This is a whole bullshit thing, just like
like high school
9/11
with bombs.
And
Yes,
it's the same shit. It's just the same bullshit. Now let's explain what's going on. Now we have a migrant crisis, of course, but most of our migrants are from South America, correct? UK has a migrant UK has a migrant crisis. Where are most of theirs from?
That's from
the
like
Middle East.
Is it the Middle East?
Refugees and from the Africa and Middle East.
Right.
Specifically, where in Africa? Somalia.
Right.
Those are all places that have been under bombing for the last 2 decades. So if we bomb the shit out of Venezuela, where do you think all those Venezuelans are going to go?
They're going to try and go north, baby.
So if you think about this, it's like it might sound good in the way that it's being presented.
Could be perpetuating the problem.
I can really explain to you how like this rings really heavy of a lot of problems that we've caused already.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, and I, again,
definitely don't fact check everything I just said, but
I would. Yeah, but I mean, I probably won't. I believe that you are speaking from your base of knowledge, which is different than mine. And, I'll take what you said at face value. That makes sense to me. You're talking to a guy who's like, steel columns can't melt. Like, I'm a steel columns can't melt guy, like for
Brad
sure.
will back me up. Ask your brother.
He will. But like, and I'm not naive enough anymore to just believe in like altruistic acts coming from any government. So that actually, checks out in terms of logic. And, another thing is that like, we're totally ignoring the northern border, which is much wider and easier to sort of finagle your way across at this point.
A lot more open spots.
And I have a buddy who was born in Canada. He's Mexican. He was born in Canada and then came down. His family came down. And so that actually happens a lot more than people realize too. So there's just so many moving parts. It's so impossible. It's like a totally impossible thing. The biggest thing I would say to like any dad out there, like anybody, it's like the existence of your children will narrow your scope, like your view of the world, down to like, what is the best for this tiny human in front of me here that looks like me, that I want to give a better life. And that's why people should have more kids again too, because we've based all of our decisions from a place of selfishness as a society, because so many people aren't having. I did it for years. I was 32 when my oldest was born. This is like, I waited a long time. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed my 20s. I didn't give a crap about any of this. And so I'm just now getting back in this game, and I'm doing it because their existence requires it of me. And so like, it will change like what you think and what you care about. And I'm grateful to them for it, because I feel like my worldview, while my societal view has not changed at all. I have Muslim friends, I have Jewish friends, I have black friends, I have Mexican friends. I love every person in my life that's welcome in my life. I don't I don't discriminate on who's welcome in my life. Like if you're a real one, like you're welcome, like for sure. And I will understand where you're coming from if you sit on a side of a fence politically on a certain issue. I'll understand where you're coming from. I will work to understand where you're coming from. But where my votes go are going to target my children. Like just bar none. That's the way it's going to be. Where my money's spent is going to target my children. Like where, I live in Washington State, so like our tax dollars are misspent in the most egregious ways in the country, probably at this point. Maybe California challenges us on that, maybe Oregon, but this West Coast triumvirate thing we have going on, it's got to get broken up at some point. Like it's not working. Test scores are terrible. I mean, my kids are doing great because we read to them every night. And we don't just read, like my 7-year-old's reading The Hobbit right now. We don't just read like,
Good choice.
well, he chose it. My sister
Such
gave
a
it
good
to him.
choice.
Dude, he can like, he's like parsing through it. I help him with a word, like say 2 or 3 words per page, where he'll like sound it out but mispronounce it, and I'll be like, oh, it's this word or whatever. I can't think of an example at the moment, but he
The funny thing about that book is it's a parable for anarchism and limited government.
right.
Like the ring is
a
given by this
libertarian-
world power
It's a libertarian
to-
treasure, bro.
to control all the different nations. They gave a
Yep.
little bit of its power to control all the nations from the one ring.
Dude,
Yeah, it's a parable, and the one ring can't corrupt the anarchists, the hobbits,
and
because
once
they
we
live
get,
on in their hole away from that. They
'Cause
hide.
they're
They
with
wanna,
God.
They want to
they're
hide
with
in their
God.
hole
They're in nature.
and smoke their hobbit leaf and be
Dude.
left alone.
Los Indios, son. Like they are the Native Americans. Like they are the children of God. Like they
Yep.
are like that's another thing you want to talk about indoctrination.
And if you also look at the Lord of the Rings, as it's timed later than the Hobbit. What's
Mhm.
kind of interesting is they start to formulate small, limited governments inside the Shire.
and everything
And
goes to hell.
if you notice, Frodo is way more quickly corrupted by the ring
Yep.
than Bilbo is.
Because he's a generation
he actually
later.
knows what power is. That's what it was trying to explain. It was saying that like the reason that the hobbits could not be tempted was because they don't know what power is. If you
Right.
give it to a human would be like, I want to rule the world. And if you give it to a dwarf would say, I want to get all the money in the world, because the dwarfs saw the money as the power. The humans saw war as power. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was the thing, is it was however you saw power. And it didn't work on hobbits because they didn't see power.
Yeah, they just grew food in their garden.
It's like, oh,
and
I can
lived
go
in
I can go invisible. This is awesome.
They just lived under the hill. And like, if you had a lot of money, your hobbit hole was a little nicer, but everybody ate from the same garden, and everybody had leaf in their pipe, and everybody was quick to give. I mean, even think about like right now.
No, I don't want to go on an adventure. What's the point of an adventure?
Right. That's funny. That was going to be my exact, like, that's the part I latch onto the most in that book, is that like, he's like, adventures are bad. Simple Sean. Like, adventures are bad, okay? Only bad stuff happens when you go on adventures. And, like, the biggest thing is, like, even when the dwarves start showing up, because this is the part that we're at, that my oldest is reading, like, when the dwarves start showing up, he can't help himself but let them help themselves. Like, he's just, like, it's like 16 pages of just a list of the things the dwarves want to eat. And he gives them everything. He's just like totally like polite all the way through. And it's funny because that kind of leans into the migration thing. Was kind of like, do you want the dwarves to like completely ransack your hobbit hole? Like, should we give them everything? Like, weren't you a little uncomfortable with Bilbo, like reading that? You're like, why are you doing this for you know what I mean? Like, they just showed up, like, but in turn, the reward of that is that they take him on this grand adventure. But is it a reward? because then everything goes bad and somebody has to save the world. Like there has to be a Frodo that like goes on this really, so you've created difficult times. So that's that whole thing, like, you know, weak men create hard times create strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. It was like, frankly, unfortunately, like we're the weak men. We grew up in the good times and we're trying right now to become strong men. And that comes with a bit of growing pains. That comes with a guy sitting in his basement watching a video thinking,
A bunch of Frodos.
yeah, and you know, we should
Weak men
bomb
trying to rise to
Venezuela.
the
Yeah,
adventure
maybe
that
I
we
should put
wanted to
this
do,
ring
but
on,
we
you
didn't
know?
realize we actually wanted to do.
Right. Like we should put this ring
But
on.
that's kind of what
Like,
a lot of this is. This is kind of what I say is like the problem with our government and the cyclical nature of this stuff is they never want to throw the ring in the fire. They go, "Hey, I don't like what this last guy did," but then they take charge and do the same shit and they use the same mechanisms instead of going and abolishing these mechanisms so this power could not be used again.
and we need
That's
a real
throwing the ring
Frodo.
into the fire.
We need a real Frodo. Like, we need somebody who's willing to throw the ring into the fire. I think everybody thought that was Trump. I think everybody thought Trump was Frodo. Turns out he got to the peak. He was like more like Samwise Gamgee. It's like, God, don't throw the ring into the fire, Bobby. Like, we got to keep Ozempic. Like, that's good, you know, or like whatever. Like, you know, we need somebody who's willing to throw the ring into the fire for sure. We need somebody who's willing to just be like, nope, you're cut off. We're not doing that.
Nobody needs
like,
this power.
Right, exactly. And, you know, I think to a degree, Trump has Frodo-like qualities, but he isn't.
Most people are Boromir. Like I said, most people are Boromir. It's like, what if we use the ring?
Right. Yeah. The human, right? That's the human.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, but if we just put it on for a second, it'll be okay, right? You know, just for this one fight, and then we'll take it back off and we'll throw it in. And it's like, no, you won't. You'll never, ever give it. Bobby says this, once you give power over you to the government, they will never give it back willingly.
The old saying, there's never anything so permanent as a temporary government program.
Right, dude. I mean, and it is like, it is funny how like our whole generation, like whether you vote one way or the other, we do all have these like very libertarian political views, like in general, like more of our generation, like 40-year-olds, like 35 to like 45-year-olds right now, we're agreeing on like, you're talking 96-4, like that's the percent. Like we agree on almost everything because we grew up under the umbrellas of Martin Luther King. That's our societal doctrine. It's like, I don't care what you look like. Can you do it? Like, can you have my back? Can you do the work? Can you help me out here? Like, will you do it? Like, will you be like, will you stand for me? I'll stand for you. Like, will I do it for you? Like, those are the only things that matter societally. And then politically, it's like, we don't trust George W. And like, we gave trust to somebody who betrayed it after him. And like, you know, we've been burned. So yeah, we're kind of like, we're like a bunch of That's a great analogy. I mean, we're a bunch of Frodos. Like I read Fahrenheit 451 and 1984 in tandem with each other for the first time when I was like 31. I'd never read them before because terrible.
Have you ever read Brave New World?
I have not. I read like
Brave New World and 1984. If you mix those together, you have what we're living in. Truthfully,
I mean, I believe it.
It's like the Brave New World is the carrot and the 1984 is the stick.
I see. Yeah, I'll check it out. I do need to read that book. I mean,
if you don't feel like reading, I think there's a Hulu series that's pretty faithful.
Read it.
Faithful enough.
Yeah. But it's just like these things where like as time has gone on, I'm not a huge history buff. I had a great history teacher through high school, and I remember things that surprise myself sometimes. So I was actually paying more attention than I thought. And my teacher was a better teacher than I thought at the time. But like the older I've gotten, it's not that I'm more interested in history necessarily. It's just more like I need to know this because shit's popping off and I need to know this. Like I didn't realize that the South were Democrats. I didn't know that until like 2 years ago. Like, or I knew it maybe, but I didn't I didn't lock that into my brain. I didn't see why that was relevant, and it does seem like the more racist party right now is the left, and not in an outward, they're emotionally not, but policy wise, they actually really kind of are. And I don't like that. I don't like giving something to somebody because of some inalienable trait. I don't like taking something away from somebody because of some inalienable trait. You earn what you get, and the one thing everybody should get baseline is respect. From the jump, respect is yours to lose. It's not that a lot of people say you got to earn respect, right? That's a really common thing. I'm not teaching that to my kids. My kids baseline is respect for everyone. We don't judge people based on what they wear to school or what they like or what books they read or what video games they play, or we don't judge people on that stuff. We judge on how they behave over time. And then you can make a decision on whether or not that person belongs in your life. What you don't get to make a decision on is whether or not you should give that person personal respect in their space, And so I'm just trying to teach them that, because I think it's important that we have baseline respect, and then respect is yours to lose after that. I think that's the better, everybody always told me you got to earn respect. It's like, no, actually you have to give respect to get it. And also, like, you should just give everybody that at first, and then they can work their way back from there, So rather than building a sculpture out of clay, if, the sculpture is respect, you're actually whittling it out of wood, right? You have a whole block of respect here, and we can whittle a horse out of that block of wood. And maybe I respect you in these areas, but you've lost a lot over here and down here and all that stuff. Maybe a weird analogy, but yeah, I don't know. The world's just crazy, dude. And so I think it would behoove us all to like focus more on like our families, and you should grow your family. I think that's, you're seeing a lot of like 40-year-old female regret out there for not having kids. And the male loneliness epidemic on the other side of that is,
kids are the meaning of life.
Right.
I mean, this is the thing. It's like everybody
You
asks
don't
that
know that
question.
till you
What
have
is
them,
the
though.
meaning? What is the meaning of life? I mean, kids. And
yeah,
this
it's
is true for
beautiful, dude.
every organism on the planet. Every organism on the planet prioritizes reproduction over every other function that it does.
Yes. It is the
So-
you survive.
It is
You have
the
to learn
meaning
to
of life,
survive
literally.
in order to do that. Like that
down
is
to the
thing.
cell that makes you up. The meaning of life is reproduction.
Yeah.
Make
Yes.
more of you.
Agreed. And you know what? And then after you're done reproducing, the meaning of life is watering the plant. So you've spread the seed, water the fucking plant. Like, pour into those kids. I've got them in basketball, jujitsu. They're reading every night. Like, and I do that with them every single night, basically without fail. Sometimes on Saturdays, they want to watch a movie before bed instead of read. But I say, we can either go read now, or you can finish this movie. Like that kind of a thing, but reading is always on the table. Like, I don't, sometimes I'm not present enough. Sometimes I'm stuck to my phone. It's a problem. It's a modern problem. But, they have guitars. They know that they can have a guitar lesson whenever they want, basically. Like so we're singing, we got records, we're listening, we're like doing all those things. And I'm just trying to keep them as active as I can for my sanity and for their upbringing to be good, so that when they look back on their childhood after they're done hating me when they're 15, they can, you know what I'm talking about. It's coming for all of us. But like, once they get past that phase, when they're like 19 or 20, they'll be like, when they turn 21, they'll be like, Dad, let's go to Vegas. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want a friendship with them in their adulthood. So I'm trying to be as constructive as I can. And that comes with discipline too. I think we got really far off track disciplining our kids, participation trophies and things like that. Like, I'm trying to raise people that know how to go out and win, not know how to go out and exist, I want them to win in life and in their relationships. Right. I want their friends to be able to count on them. I want their loved ones. I want their families that they raise to be. I'm a weak man trying to raise strong men. I think that our generation's biggest superpower, broadly speaking, there's factions that don't have this, but self-awareness seems to be, say, on the wider part of the tent, self-awareness seems to be our superpower. We are the people that I talk to, the dudes that I know, the women that I know, my wife, like supremely, my wife was on the no news train like way before I was. She's so much smarter than me that way. But like, I would say like we're more self-aware. So we know we're Frodos. That's gonna be the thing that allows us to hopefully one day actually throw the ring in the fire. It's because like we know that we have to do this at some point. So it's gonna be like no more money to Israel, like no more foreign war money, like no more 20 million people at a time, like no more, we're not gonna hate you. We're just not gonna bomb people for you, right? Like you're welcome at the White House. You're welcome in my house. I'm not gonna bomb his house because you don't like him. Like that's the ring, that's the fire. It's just like we're not going to do that stuff anymore. And I think we're getting closer. Guys like you've got the Dave Smiths of the world, like I watch Dave Smith all the time. I love that guy. I love him sitting in front of Chris Cuomo being like, "You owe Joe Rogan an apology." Like I love that. And even though he didn't do
Dave
it,
Smith is the reason I'm anti-war. Dave Smith went on Joe Rogan was about 9 years ago for the first time.
Yep.
And I was like, who the hell is this guy? I love this. And I was a libertarian well before this, but the one thing I was just like, oh, come on now. Like, we got to have a military. So I kind of identify that with the whole, like, oh, sometimes, well, what about with drugs or with what? It's like, because that was me. And, he was like, you got to listen to this, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? So I started listening to Part of the Problem.
Yep.
And then when I started listening to Part of the Problem, he started talking about Scott Horton.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let me check out this Enough Already book. And then I read Enough Already, and that sent me down the hole.
He's a great mind. People try to discount him. I watch Trigonometry. I like those guys a lot. I love what they do. I'm on Dave's side with some of that stuff when he did their podcast. Like, I'm kind of like Konstantin has a very, I'll respect his like resiliency and his view of things. Like he basically cannot be swayed.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him change his mind, but like, you're not going to knock him off his feet with anything. And I love that about him. I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head, but he's great. They have a hard line on something I disagree with.
What I will give them credit for, because I watched that specific episode between them two and Dave Smith, is like, I love that they actually sat down and had the fight. You know what I mean? They had the actual discussion.
Respect,
they didn't just
putting the dukes up
into another. Yeah, put the dukes up.
Yep,
like
100%.
That was what pissed me off about the Douglas Murray thing so much. Is I was like, I actually wanted to see a debate. That's what I wanted to see. Mm-hmm. Like I tuned into this because it was sold as a debate.
Douglas
Murray,
then I
didn't get my debate.
Dave dismantled him. He has no. He basically has no credibility under the tent anymore after all that. It's interesting you say, like, there's a lot of infighting amongst the podcasters. I'm not voting for a podcaster. So right now, what's kind of nice about that,
like, this is the thing that, like, I don't get. It's like, there's a lot of infighting in the they should be.
Yes.
They should, like, they're opinion heads. They're talking heads.
Yes.
This is Bill O'Reilly and whoever the fuck else over at CNN knocking heads. It happened. It always happened.
Like,
and
Crowder
what's
just
great
had
is
Fuentes
you're seeing
on
this within the party. So you have an open discussion. That's a good thing. What the bad thing is these fucking idiots that don't realize that you built a big tent and start excommunicating fucking people from it.
That's dumb. You can't just kick people out of the tent.
Sorry for cussing hard, but like, that's just so dumb.
I'm with you. Have the fight. Let the people decide which idea wins, and then go on about keep podcasting. I'm not going to stop watching. Like, I like Crowder. I like
the old joke Dave Smith keeps saying. It's
like
you're going to knock
Dave.
out 1, 2, and 4.
Right. No, I mean, I like all of them. I like Joe. I mean, and to be fair, I gave liberal podcasts a shot. Like, I watched a good bit of, who's that guy? Packman, David
Yeah.
Packman. I watched a good
I
amount of
gave him a
David.
shot. I couldn't
did.
do it.
That's the thing. Or that, who's that?
I will give the Young Turks that they actually have some decent content that's pretty
I
heavily
like them.
watchable.
I kind of like Turning Point
from
or
both from
Breaking
all of
Points.
the people. Yeah, the
Breaking
Breaking
Point-
Points folks
that's
too. Yeah.
But those two, like Young Turks and Breaking Points, that's about as liberal of a podcast as I can stand.
Those are real liberals.
Right. Because they're real liberals. Because they actually societally more align with how I feel about people out in the world in general, how I interact with them. Politically, there's good debate on Breaking Points. I like that they have people with different opinions. Like they do the Dave Smith thing. They do the Joe Rogan thing to a degree. And, they had Bobby on. Like, fine. Like, they have the fights. Every once in a while, Crystal and Sagar, they have a segment where they just fight about shit. And I like it. I'm glad. I want to see the fights. I want to see the debates. I want to see the arguments so I can hear both sides at the same time. That's why, like, the whole Turning Point thing with Candace is like crazy because they're like, come on the show. But she had like 24 hours notice. It's like, come on the show when? Like, and then they did it without her anyway. So disingenuous. It's like, no, get her on. Like, schedule it for a week from now. Like, have the fight. I want them to have the fight.
I've done a lot of podcasting, and I have scheduled a podcast 24 hours in advance.
You can do it. You
48
can do it.
hours.
But they wanted her
I've had on before, I have an open line of communication with, and I had zero expectation that he was for sure going to come. So it's like, it was just like, hey, I hope this works. Because, sometimes you have people cancel on you, and you're like, I have to have a weekly show, and this guy canceled. So, hey, man, do you want to come on?
But it kind of,
okay, bet.
Kind of sucks though that they did the whole thing without her.
Destiny did the same shit to Dave Smith, where he was like, "Hey, I'll come on the show," and then he didn't show up. He's like, "Oh, look at him, he's pussy," and I'm like, "Dude, like you don't do that. Like if you get a response back and the person says, "I will be here on this day at this time," and then they don't show, I'll give you that.
Yeah, go ahead and
if
drag
they don't
them.
show and don't give you a
heads up,
a reasonable explanation. Sometimes, again. Crap happens, but
even an excuse people would mostly accept in that. But like they literally, I think she did respond on Twitter. If you go through the timeline, and it's like I don't agree with Candace on everything either, but I love her conspiratorial mind, and I love that she stays on the fucking trail. She's like a bloodhound sniffing out a bird.
Yeah, that's
like,
kind of my thing for me.
I respect it a lot.
I think she's a little bit too over her skis sometimes when she's talking about stuff.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's like, for me, she, like, I think, you got me thinking about Dave Smith, but Dave Smith said she's like a pit bull that grabs a hold of something and doesn't quit shaking until every drop of blood comes out of it.
Yep, 100%.
And I do admire that about her, and I also admire her rebelliousness. The level of like, if you like attack me for believing something, then instead of trying to argue it out with me, then I'm going to, like I said, that's what's going to get that chomp lockjaw, and then start shaking.
Yeah,
because she doesn't, and like I said, that's the part that blew my mind with the whole like Ben Shapiro thing, break up between the two of them. Is like,
that was crazy.
Ben Shapiro, like, is it your first day in politics?
Yeah.
Like, you knew this woman for a long period of time, and the reason, like, I don't know how many people know, like, I'm going to give a very quick rundown of who Candace Owens is. Candace Owens hit the scene as a liberal, hardcore leftist.
Yep.
And it wasn't until the lefties started calling her racist for attacking certain black culture things that she started freaking out and running to the right. And that's how she ended up on Daily Wire. Because
you know what's funny too?
They called her a racist. And the first thing you did when she said, "Hey, I'm worried about these dead babies," is call her a racist.
Right.
It's like you intentionally were like, what can I do to send her running in the opposite direction?
Listen, only the white people were calling her a racist. that's the other funny part too, is because back then she was like, the Black community was like on board. Like they loved Candace. She was a hero. She was an example of what you could be as a Black female in America. Like like straight up, like that's who she was to the Black community. And the thing that the left does better than seemingly anybody is tell the Black community what's right and wrong for them. And I hate that very much. And I think that the Black community is in large part growing wearisome of it. And I'm glad, because we're over here like, we love you guys. Like, we're like, we don't feel the need to like apologize for, like, I'm not an apologist for slavery because I wasn't there. But if I like if I was there at a transition, like, period of time, I think I would be an apologist for sure, because that was bad. But we also have a good frame of reference now where we're like, look, we ended it like more quickly than any nation ever. We abolished it so fast in the grand scheme of time compared to every other nation that it's like, obviously we love you. Obviously we accept you. Obviously, like, we want you to be a part of what we're doing. Like, we want.
Well, is the thing is
the policies didn't reflect that for a very long time. So
True.
I have sympathy and empathy for the condition of the Black community as it's currently constructed because of the policies from like Bill Clinton or something like that, right? Like, I was there for that. And so policy-wise, we need the change. Society-wise, personally, we had this figured out in 2003. Like, we loved each other. We were getting along. And like, yeah, some things needed to change policy-wise that maybe haven't or didn't rapidly enough. But like, apart from that, I think that our race relationships were really, I know from my experience, they were really good for a long time, and they're still pretty good. They're better than the news would have you believe, honestly.
Yeah, I'm. That's the thing is I'm actually in an interracial marriage. My wife is Black, and
nice.
So for me, like, that's kind of the thing that I've always. And like I said, I grew up in Black circles, literally.
Right. So of course
and
it was the girls you were looking at were all.
But no, what's very comical to me about the whole thing is that, like, when everybody talks about this, it's like they'll say like, hey, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say this, and it's like, I don't know, I grew up hearing way worse from Black people to other Black people.
Yep. Yeah.
So like, I don't necessarily think that's what you think it is. There are degrees of different things, of course, and then there's also that aspect of, like, there's a curiosity that is not handled correctly.
Yeah.
This is something that I think again, something that I like. The hair thing, I think, is something that a lot of people will bring up. They'll be like, oh, these people are just so worried about my hair, da 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 da, and this is a racist thing, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, as one of very few white people, I used to have a team of Black chicks, fingers going through my hair all day.
Feeling your hair.
It's so soft. What is this?
It's
oh my
smooth,
gosh.
yeah.
It's smooth. Oh my God, this is so interesting.
They do the same thing. Yeah.
It's curiosity.
It's okay.
It's curiosity.
It's not offense. It's not offense. Well, it's like that Stewie Griffin. I always remember that.
And I was a guy, so I was like, please touch it. Go ahead.
That right? Yep, that's right. But he's got game for days, ladies and gentlemen. But like, there's that Stewie Griffin thing where he like touched Cleveland's hair and he's like, oh, it's like a sheep. Like, that's what he said on Family Guy. It was really funny. And actually, I used to touch my buddy Trey. I had a friend named Trey back in the day that I worked with and played basketball with and stuff. And I used to touch his hair and say that. Like, I was like 20. It wasn't curiosity for me. It was a joke. Like, it was funny.
Right.
He laughed. I laughed. It wasn't racist. It was like the Dave Chappelle spirit of like stereotypes and accepting them, making them fun. He'd be like, he'd get in the car with, we'd pick him up to go hoop, and he'd get in the car. He'd be like, smells like wet dog in this motherfucker. Like we teased each other lightheartedly with love about our differences, because at the end of the day, like they can be fun. It's okay for that to be funny. Like, it's okay for us to like point
Well,
finger in the barbershop sense. Like, we can
what's
laugh at
funny
each
is
other.
the
I can take it,
absurdity.
you know? Yeah.
What's funny is the absurdity, and
Right.
that's kind of the thing is like that's why the Nazi giving a speech isn't funny, but the guy making a bunch of racist jokes is.
Yes.
Because it's the
Yes.
absurdity that's funny. It's the what he's
100%.
saying is absurd.
Yeah.
You know?
And we need to, I think for the most part, we haven't lost that all the way. We've let the news and the media apparatus take that away in some regard. But, you know, my kids like had, in Portland at least, they had friends of all. They'll never not, like, they still celebrate, even at our all white school, they still celebrate MLK Day. They still do, and it doesn't feel like they do it in a forceful sort of unique, like, self-hating,
Well, the thing
white
about
guilt
that,
kind of
that's the
way.
point
They're
of MLK.
celebrating what he did. They're celebrating what he was, not.
You wanna get into some conspiracies? I know you like conspiracies.
I love
we got a little time here.
Yeah.
MLK, right, was preaching something called, which in our modern parlance we call PRT, which is post-racial theory, that
Yep.
society could get to a space that's beyond race, and so race becomes as relevant as hair color.
Right.
Right? So that's a post-racialist theory, is that like that is what we need to work towards. Whereas there was another theory called critical race theory, which the idea is while we might want to try to work towards that, it is actually impossible because human beings will never be able to see beyond race.
Yeah.
This is the theory of Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King pushed post-racial theory. Them two actually argued a lot on this.
Yep.
And what's kind of interesting is Malcolm X actually did his Hajj, which is a pilgrimage to Mecca, because he was Muslim.
I remember
and
that.
when he gets there, he actually is praying next to black Muslims, white Muslims, brown Muslims, Muslims from all over the world who are also making this Hajj. They're all respectful of each other. They're all greeting each other. They're all treating each other as equals.
Yep.
And so he literally said, I could not see that, and then continue to argue with Martin Luther King that it was impossible.
That's why they killed Malcolm.
Yes. And then when he comes back and he starts arguing, hey, I was wrong, that's when he's killed. And if you go and you look, the FBI was very heavily involved in both of these individuals. And like I said, both of them were only killed while they were preaching post-racialist theory.
Yep. I mean,
because the people that were,
because they're too
pushing
powerful,
the FBI at the time,
they're too powerful a voice.
Well, no,
they
actually, these guys were open racists. Like the people,
right.
like you said, you remember we were talking about, it was the Democrats in charge at the time. They were openly racist.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this was to keep the racial division high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why they were doing that. That's why they wanted Malcolm X over,
they want us divided. I think it's the most, they want to keep us divided.
They were pushing Martin Luther King when they thought he was causing more division.
Right.
During the Birmingham riots and stuff like that. It was once everything, he started calming things down and bringing together is when he actually started getting shot at.
I know. But, and it's the same, I would, so here's an interesting, like, to maybe add to that or bring it into modernity. Personally, I considered Charlie Kirk a figure of such stature. He was a Malcolm, a Martin, a JFK, he was a person who was politically adjacent, that literally was arguing for real acceptance, not the fake false acceptance or forced acceptance. He was arguing for real equality. And a caveat to that was against abortion, and that pissed people off. But I considered him, the magnitude of his death and the way that it happened is me equivalent to what happened to Martin. I mean, there's almost no difference between JFK and Charlie Kirk to me, as far as the magnitude. They always assassinate the guy that Abraham Lincoln or, whatever it is, like it's always somebody who is like preaching, like we need to actually be together because we can't change anything like this. It's just two balls knocking against each other at that point. Like we need to actually put both hands on one ball. And like it just I considered him that. I would be interested to hear how you felt about that.
Well, this is kind of what I'm get what we, to kind of bring us full circle to what we were talking about in the beginning, was that the whole, like, the ways that you get things done is big tents. And even Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, while they disagreed, there's quite a few times where they worked together to do certain things. And so there is something too that I think that we also have to be wary of when we're trying to do things, right? Like, so just something that comes to mind would be this whole, like, Nick Fuentes thing is a big question of, like, what do we do with this guy, right?
He's a little wild. He's a cowboy,
yeah,
that's for sure.
But like the point that I've made is, if we're going up against, slavery or civil rights, you know what I mean? Like, this is a big problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need a big tent. We're
Yep.
going to need a large, thing. And I think that is going to be the same if we're going up against war. War is an institution that has existed for a long time. And if you were to say about slavery before it was abolished, that one day we won't have slavery, everybody would have said, you're fucking crazy.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean?
True.
Like, so if we're actually trying to undertake such a great task, we're going to have to be aware that the people who don't want us to succeed are going to do everything in their power to split off little pieces and chunks from that giant tent.
Yep.
And in my opinion, what I would argue is that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with Nick Fuentes. I would actually say it's probably good to highlight where you disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the solution might actually be that we just say, hey, I just agree with him on this thing, and we're together until we get this thing done.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of
like,
what
or
happened.
whatever, and that's across any person, anything. I think there's something that we need to be aware of when we look at, like, Martin Luther King and things like this. Like, how are they actually, like, these guys know how to destroy a movement, and that's how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, totally. I mean, and that's, was that Milo Yiannopoulos, when he posted after Charlie, he's like, you killed the nice guy, so now you get me. That's kind of what Milo said it, but I haven't seen him do anything since then. But really, Nick Fuentes is doing that. He's being that sentiment, is like, you killed the nice guy, so now you get me. Like that. And, he hated Charlie Kirk, but he did that whole diatribe about how, these are the things that we agreed on, and I'm going to focus on those things for this, yes, I said this about him, I believe this about him, blah, 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 blah. But these are the things that we agreed on, and I want to do a full hour and a half on the things that we agreed on. And I respect him for that. And that goes to your point. Like, that's how we get there. It's like whether Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens believe the same thing about Charlie Kirk's death doesn't fucking matter if we're trying to stop war entirely.
Right. We have to be Dave Smith. Dave Smith had a big blowout, drag-out fight with Alex Berenson.
Mm-hmm.
Then Alex Berenson puts out a nice article on COVID, and he goes, hey, everybody, check out this new article that Alex Berenson put out on COVID. He's doing great work. We're on the same team here. Not on this other thing, but we are on the same team here, so you should probably check this out.
Yep.
That is what I'm talking about. It's like, don't let them divide you on this other thing from solving another thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, taking the high road in this instance is not taking an altruistic path. It's everybody on the same road. Like, the high road is like, there's a flood. We all just need to get on the fucking high road for now until the flood subsides. And then we can take our own trails after that, So it's not even like the high road and like, I'm better than you, I'm going to take the high road. It's like, we all want this one thing. The high road is like literally just temporary till the flood subsides. And then we can argue about other things after that. And we will, because that is actually human nature, is not to war necessarily. They programmed us to think war is human nature, but it's actually not. It's actually to just disagree on a thing and then learn to accept the fact that you disagree on a thing, and then go over here and raise your own family the way you want to raise it, and let them raise their family they want to raise it. And then when those people get out into the marketplace of ideas, they will either convene with each other or they won't. And both is fine, but we don't have to bomb each other just because we disagree on a thing. Now,
Well,
part of,
if we
you know,
all thought the same way and we all had the same perspective, we'd all starve to death.
yeah, exactly.
Because we got to do different things. We have to have different interests. It's just
Yeah.
the way that
Some
makes
people
the
need to
world
learn
work.
how to eat in the desert. Like, you know, some people don't have to worry about how to eat. Some people have to worry about panthers in the jungle. Like, we live in different parts of the world, so we have different needs, societally speaking. And, you know, like, I couldn't see a way to survive in the climate of Portland, Oregon and raise the family that I wanted to raise the way I wanted to raise them. So we left. Like, we went to a different place with different values that more aligned with ours, and that sucks because you move away from family and, you know, the village you build and stuff. But like, ultimately, that's the beauty of America, is that if you're in South Carolina and you like got raised with this liberal sort of stance on things in your house and nobody else's house thinks that way, you can move to Portland and you can be with people that agree with you all the time. Or if
That's
you
what
were,
the 10th Amendment was supposed to work anyway.
right, yeah, I mean,
We can't be a patchwork of laws. Well, I mean, that's pretty much what they said in the 10th Amendment is a patchwork of laws.
we think like there are certain things where everybody just kind of needs to be on board. Charlie Kirk's death, largely, like, yes, there was like 5% of people on Twitter, which is like 200 people that were celebrating, or TikTok or whatever, that were celebrating his death. Almost everybody I know was like, this is wrong. I didn't agree with him, but this is wrong. And that's okay. Like, it's so even okay. People are like, you shouldn't even give the qualifier. That's too extreme the other way. Give a qualifier. I don't care. I don't care if you say, I didn't agree with him, but it's wrong. Like, that's fine by me. Like, the end result is that we agree it's wrong. Like 100%, it is wrong. And so I think that was a unifying moment more than most people think. And the internet is allowing us to feel more divided than we actually are on stuff. And for that, it's a net negative in that way, the internet, but a net positive in many other ways. I'm allowed to have a conversation with a cool bro, like across wherever you live, you know, versus where
Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, shit, dude. Roll Tide, baby. But yeah, man, I appreciate the time. I mean, I always love
course,
talking
yeah.
about this stuff with somebody. Thanks for schooling me on Venezuela there. You know, you're clearly more educated than I'm. Again, simple Sean. I just go with what I know.
I went to college for political science and economics, but I dropped out. So
That's probably a smart move.
Those are both things that you can continue to study.
You didn't quite make it to the indoctrination phase yet, you know. But yeah, I mean,
so
I have no, like I said,
I kind of think the 15-year-old mindset is kind of right when you grow up, and it's not that. I think that some people say that, like, you grow up and you think that you're right about everything, and it's like, that's not what. Actually, remember when you were a teenager, that's when you started to realize that adults didn't know as much as they pretended to.
Right.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the actual reason why you started to rebel. And I think that is also the truth, truly. Is like, you know, the alternative media landscape is riding off of that truth, is that the adults that said they were the adults and knew everything and they understood it and they were the experts don't really understand it as well as they're pretending to.
That's a really great sentiment that we all need to work to infuse into our relationships with our children. I'm bad about that because a lot of times it's because I said so. But what I do try to do is have that talk later. Look, like, you're not wrong for wanting to draw at 8:30 at night. And like, when you're an adult, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, we have to go to bed because you're little and you need sleep. So we need to go read right now and get ready for bed. You know, it's not like I'm doing it just because I think you shouldn't draw. It's because it's 8:30 and you need sleep so that you can go to school tomorrow and be great. You know, like I have a responsibility to you to make sure that you hit these things. And so, but I also like am not shy about telling them I don't know when they ask me a question. You know, they do, Daddy, why? You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Let's find out. You know, and I think that's kind of, I told my son, my oldest, the other day, I was like, every time you do something, it's the first time I'm experiencing it with you. Like, it's a first for me. It's first for you. It's first for me. I've never done it in this seat before. I've been doing a bunch of things that were a first for me, but I've never watched a tiny version of me go through there first. So I was like, keep that in mind. Like, don't hate me because I don't know what I'm doing. Let's agree that neither of us know what we're doing. And like, maybe mommy's probably the only person who knows what she's doing. And like, you and I are just like idiots throwing darts in the dark here, trying to make something stick to a bullseye. So like, if you know that I don't know, and I know that you don't know, maybe we can fight less, you know, and we can figure it out together. So I think if we infuse that as parents into our children more, we'll raise better adults. Like, we'll just raise more inquisitive,
yeah,
scientifically minded people who are willing to be wrong and say, well, that's new information. How can I, you know, work that into my life? And I think we're all, you know, to go back to that great analogy you made, we're all just kind of trying to be Frodo here and,
yeah,
you know, raise a bunch of non-Frodos. Like, you know, anyway.
yeah. But like, this is the this is the rub, man. Teaching your kids that, man, is it's tough because you know when you look at your kids, at least from a dad's eyes, at least, like you know they're looking up and they see a king. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
All powerful being
Mm-hmm.
here that can make anything work, can make anything, fix any problem. And but you do kind of have to shatter that a little bit. You really do.
I think at least
And you have to tell
earlier.
them,
Yeah. Like
you
a
have to
little
tell them
earlier
like
than we did
the
before.
the level of arbitrary to what you're saying. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what you're getting at with the drawing thing, is it's like there is a level of arbitrariness of what I'm saying. It's not always a bad thing, and it's not necessarily per se a bad thing here. It's
Yeah.
just going to cause a lot of bad consequences later. So
Yep.
none of what I'm saying is for no reason.
Yeah.
But realize that if you don't follow these reasons, these, you know, I mean, maybe not now while they're this young, but like when they hit 13 or 14, maybe you let them stay up and draw and
Right. Right.
suffer through
Yeah.
one day at school, and
Yeah.
then they
It's kind of like,
find
how
out,
did that
oh,
feel, buddy?
okay,
You know, it's like,
okay, yeah, like
yeah.
you got a point there. You
Let
got
them
a
dig
point.
in the
You
dirt
weren't,
a little, but you know, you have to scale that up. So yeah, I totally
of
agree.
course.
I mean, I
But like
think,
I said, there has to be a knowledge of why. I think you have to like really explain why for everything for kids, even when it seems like it's redundant, even when it seems like they don't exactly get it, because they'll get it before you'll think they can get it. And that's
yep.
the thing about kids that I think both of us can agree on, is it's just like you'll look over and be like, how the hell did he figure that out?
Yeah. 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 Dude, for sure. For sure. Dude, my kid was like, last night when he was doing the drawing thing, he was doing a drawing. He drew a line drawing and then he was shading. And it's like with perspective. It's like, where'd you learn how to do that? It's like, oh, I saw it on this thing, you know, Simply Draw or whatever. And he just implements, like they just see things and they implement immediately. And it's like the greatest thing about them. It's like what I celebrate about them. Like even the whole group of kids that they're in school with, they are so promising. I have so much hope for their generation. Like not even hope, it's confidence. Like they implement. My oldest is in second grade. He was in basketball practice the other day. I'm not coaching his team, but my best friend is. And my best friend is teaching these 7-year-olds a shell drill that I didn't learn until middle school. And they were doing it. And I was like, we are in business, people. Like these kids are attentive. They're creative. They're aspirational. They don't want trophies for games they don't win. They want to know what the score, what did we win? Every time, T-ball. Did we win that game? Well, yeah, you did. And you actually destroyed them. But don't say that when you go in the handshake line. Just say good game, okay? Like, you know, we're trying, like, I don't want to crush their need to win. And I don't want to pound into them a need to win. I want to nurture their inherent like desire for it. I want that to be and learn how to win with dignity and grace and all of those things. But like, I am very hopeful for the generation of our children because what I'm seeing, I don't think our parents could see. I think they were too inundated. I think we had it. I think that it got squashed out of us for do as I say, not as I do, because and because I said so, and because you just have to. And sometimes they just have to. I told mine before. You need to listen. I need to know that you can listen to me because if something bad happens, I need you to just go do what I say so that we can solve problems sometimes. Like if a ladder falls on me and I tell you to go get mommy, I don't need you to finish picking your flowers. I need you to drop the fucking flowers and go get mom. Like, I need to be able to trust you in that way. But like beyond that, like what I say is just to get you through childhood. And then you're going to be a free man someday. You're going to make your own choices. I'm not going to stop you, and all that stuff. And I'm going to respect you. I'm going to give you baseline respect. And then it's yours to lose after that. So, yeah, man.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on.
Dude,
I'll probably
thanks
have
for
to have
having
you.
me.
I'll have you back. Well, it was a good chat.
Yeah, I'd love to talk again for sure. I definitely. Have you watched Dad Saves America?
No, I haven't.
Check that guy out. He's really good on a lot of stuff. He's really, really good. And I think, he's a big inspiration for me and my thoughts on these matters and stuff like that. And I really like his podcast and his shows that he does. He's really good. And he's very humorous about disagreements and, don't torch me too much in the comments, blah, blah, blah. I'll say that to your viewers. Don't torch me too much in the comment. I did admit being wrong about Venezuela, or at least have an open mind to being wrong about it. So,
Hey man, like I said, I have a bunch of friends from all over the place in spectrum. Like I'm pretty unicorn in my views.
Yeah.
Even amongst libertarians. So like for me, if I was searching for people that I had perfect agreement with, I would never be able to have a single episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the way.
I'll have anybody on if we can have a respectful disagreement. That's the thing is like, even if you would have wanted to fire back and be like, no, look, this is the problem. We could have the discussion. I don't mind disagreeing. I feel like that is a huge thing that we've lost that we really need to get back, is the ability to just say, hey, you know what? I actually just disagree with you on that. And, but I agree with you on guitars are awesome. I agree with you on, like,
hell yeah,
I agree
baby.
with you on a million other things, that kids are the most important thing in the world. And, so what are we actually arguing over? It's about 10 or 15% of our lives.
Yep.
And as the most based libertarian in the world, I will say that I want it to be less of our lives so we can argue about less.
That would be fantastic. Quick plug, I do run a YouTube channel. If any of your viewers are interested in guitar, come on over to Sean Plays Guitar. I'm sure you'll link it for me or whatever.
Yeah, I'll put a link in there in the bottom.
Yeah. I do a late night live stream on Fridays and I just play. And I do a podcast on Thursdays in the middle of the day with my buddy Jonathan over in Atlanta, Georgia. And we talk all things guitar and not politics at all. So if any of your viewers want to break from that and just want to nerd out about, whether or not something has stainless steel frets or whether or not that's good, we talk about that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate you having me on, Daniel.
Oh man, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. It was a good talk. It was a good discussion.